Here we go beyond the headlines, breaking down the complexities with in-depth analysis from seasoned experts, thought leaders, and policymakers. No topic is too hot to handle, no question too tough to ask. From governance to policy decisions, economic shifts to societal trends, we bring you the facts, the perspectives, and the truth that matters. So stay tuned. Over to you now, Dr. Ayo Arojulu.
Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to all. This is edition 29 of Boiling Point Arena, your monthly interview discourse on governance and nation building. Ayo Arojulu is my name, and I'm by grace the convener and host of the program. For those who may not know, Boiling Point Arena started in November 2022, and we have had an unbroken, consistent record. The moment you have the second Sunday every month, that is when to, join us. That date is sacrosanct, second Sunday, 8 p.m., and we're always at your beck and call. Well, the last 3 episodes have been quite momentous. In December last year, we had a one-on-one live interview with former President Olusegun Obasanjo. And we opened the year 2025 with an interview discourse on Africa's future, featuring Professor Toyin Falola. And last month, by this time last month, popular columnist Professor Farouk Berogi and the CEO Budget, Mr. Seun Nigbide, dissected why Tinubunomics appears not to be working for Nigerians despite the economic reforms and the several billions spent on palliatives. Today, the issue of June 12 and the many unresolved issues around it following the fallouts of the revelations unmasked during the launch of Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida's book, My Journey in Service, which recorded a Naira rain in billions. Maybe call it a bazaar of sorts. Let me not fail to mention that we are having media convergence, or if you like, call it multi-streaming platforms, any of which Boiling Point Arena can be accessed. And basically, this interview is a Zoom one, being broadcast live by several radio stations, among them Wash 94.9 FM Lagos, Sweet 107.1 FM in Abeokuta, Roots 97.1 FM, Abeokuta, Erimbe 92.1 FM, Shagam, and Women 91.7 FM, Arepo. We are sincerely grateful for their partnership. I'm not here alone. I've been paired by my co-anchor, Dr. Oladende Ariyo, who is a prominent public affairs analyst and a man of several parts. Dr. Ariyo will bring up a short profile of our guest tonight in a bit. But before I hand over to him, let me inform you that we all here are under a royal covering. One of Nigeria's foremost traditional rulers, the Olowo of Owu Kingdom, Oba Professor Sakama Temilola, is the chair and keynote speaker to herald the discourse. Welcome, Kabiesi. Well, Dr. Ariyo, over to you.
Thank you very much, my brother. When you said June 12 and several unresolved issues, I remembered way back in 1993, I was already 33 years old, so I was no longer a boy. I was already a man, and I was already married anyway. So I was a live witness to history. So all of these things happened in my Korokoro eye. And when we look back at what we went through, the day mobile policemen battered me in Bariga, for no reason, just because I was having a sticker on my car that said MKO, Just that. Remember, I also came from Japan to vote for MKO. I paid my way through. We were encouraged to return. That flight from UK, from Heathrow that day, carried everyone going to vote for MKO who bought their tickets. And then we came, we voted, and see where we all are. Anyway, let me take up the assignment given to me before my Oga will apply the cane. Let me unveil a discussion on Boiling Point Arena, this 29th edition, that is the March edition. I'll start with General Ishola Williams, born and bred in Lagos. General Williams is an octogenarian. He joined the army in 1964 and rose through the ranks. As at August 1994, he was the commander, training and doctrine command in Minna, and later Chief of Defense Training Operations and Plans until 27 November 1994, when he was compulsorily retired from the army. Then it was widely rumored that because he was a Yoruba man, he had to go. Not that he was due for retirement.
Really?
I come to Senator Babafemi Ojudu, my friend from Ekiti. He's a distinguished journalist, media entrepreneur, and politician whose career spanned over 4 decades of impactful contributions to democracy. For those of you who might have forgotten or who didn't know, Babafemi Ojudu was part of the News and Temple. If you knew what they did those days, you will clap for him. Ojudu hails from Ekiti, as I said. He's a fearless advocate of press freedom, who was one of those who resisted military leadership through investigative journalism and activism, which saw him incarcerated for 9 months in solitary confinement in 1997. And coming up the rear, the last but not the least, is Jamiu Abiola, who was born in Nigeria in 1975 and was a teenager as at the time his father, the late business mogul, Chief Moshood Kashi Olawale Abiola, Monday.
General David Mark, by the way, or was a Senate president once upon a time. Now, let me quickly give a short preamble to the discourse tonight, titled June 12th, the Babangida Apologia, an opening of old wounds, and what consequences to follow, if any. June 12th is the coinage to describe the incident which many believe altered the destiny of Nigeria when former military president, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, annulled what people refer to as the freest and the fairest election ever in the history of the acclaimed giant of Africa. After 10 years of continuous military rule, a presidential election was held on June 12, 1993, which it was believed then would have stamped out military rule forever. But alas, it was not to be. June 12 remains a watershed for Nigeria, even though there have been many attempts by the military and political class to just wish it away as though it was merely an accident of history. Yes, this was the exact description of the whole June 12th scenario by the architect and brain behind the very act of annulment, Babangida himself, at the launch of his book recently. I want to quote him. Here is what: the accident of history is most regrettable. The nation is entitled to expect my expression of regret. Now, this brings us to the flurry of reactions to the topic of this discourse as to whether there was ever an apology by Babangida. A lot of people accosted me and said, no, he never apologized. But wait a minute. As a communicator who is entitled to what we call selectivity theory, one needs to be well guided when attempting to process a speech or utterance from the one everyone referred to as Maradona, who speaks a little to the left and a little to the right. For me, that was an apology, which means a state of regret. Whichever is the case, we have our team of discussants representing the many stakeholders of the June 12th saga. And we are sure that it's going to be a robust conversation, true and true. In a bit, I will be handing over to the keynote speaker, our revered KBC, the Olowo of Owu Kingdom, over Professor Saka Matemilola. But let me mention that, yes, I already said about David Mark. Well, let's get to KBC, after which we go straight to the firing line or the arena of the boiling point. Thank you very much. Let's have KBC unmuted. KBC, a very good evening to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ojudu. I welcome everybody to today's discourse. I hope you can hear me clearly. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me welcome everybody to this month's edition of Boiling Points Arena, our monthly discourse session where we dissect issues of critical national importance. And today's session is not going to be any less exciting. In fact, it is a topic that borders on a collective, something that borders on a collective memory, something that's it's like an open wound, really, something that it's really key in our national psyche. And a real important watershed, as Dr. Arojolu mentioned in his earlier statements, in our history in Nigeria. And an issue that each time it comes up, there will always be issues to discuss around it. And I'm not sure how far we can, discuss it to really get to the bottom of it. And it goes beyond apology by anybody, even the main protagonist on the issue. There are a lot of issues that goes, that surrounds it. But today, I'm happy we have people who are directly involved in the issue, people who are in the military, General Ishola Williams, Senator Babafemi Ojudu, who was a journalist and also who is a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic, and also a son of the person at the center of the entire saga, Mr. Jamiu Abiola. I won't want to keep us for too long. I really want us to delve into this issue straight away. And I'm sure we're going to have a very exciting, a very explosive discussion around this. And I can assure that this is not going to be the end of discussion around the June 12th issue. But let me quickly thank all our partner radio stations for supporting this program. We now have a very wide reach. This really has also enabled this discussion, this very important, session, the Boiling Point Arena, to penetrate to several parts of our country. And I'm sure that a lot of people are enjoying our session. I welcome you all again to this session and look forward to a very robust discussion as usual. Thank you. Dr. Aroju, back to you.
Thank you very much, KBC. I was straight to the point. KBC just raised an issue now. Each and every time, he's always grateful to our media partners. And a lot of people have asked me why the fusion of the radio, the conventional radio, to a town hall platform like the Zoom. And I just tell them it's an innovation. And secondly, we were foresighted enough that data may no longer be as free as it used to be.
Or as cheap
and
affordable.
As cheap and affordable.
Yeah.
From our research, we have been able to see that a lot of people now prefer the radio. By virtue of, the
increase in the cost of data and airtime.
So maybe one of these days we'll be able to find out, maybe 10 million Nigerians.
We start our own radio and TV station. It's not impossible.
Maybe about 10 million Nigerians are connected to Boiling Point across the world as we speak. Kudos to our media partners.
And the good thing also is that we have listeners in foreign countries.
Exactly.
In Canada, in Australia, in US, almost everywhere. There's a guy, Baruin, who's Femi.
That's from.
He's always a part of us, and he has never missed it.
Exactly.
In fact, he's listening to us as we are talking.
That's also.
And I'm sure he's going to come in and ask questions or make contributions.
You can trust him. There's also a Benga Uduko from Australia, and many of them like that. I am coming over to Jamiu. Let's start from an emotional note. Let Jamiu Abiola be unmuted so that I need to hear your voice first. Jamiu, how are you today? I cannot hear his voice. Are you sure?
Hello, Jamiu. Or should we speak French to him? He's a multilingualist.
Please make sure, technical team, let's make sure we are hearing him.
Yes, this is Boiling Point, the March edition. As we said earlier, the program comes on the second Sunday of every month. So to us, the second Sunday is sacrosanct. Nothing else is more important than Boiling Point. We are glad to have you. I will try to connect with Jamiu Abiola.
Can we hear the voice now? Can you confirm? Hello, Jamiu. Well, I hope our technical team is
will attend to that.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
welcome.
You are loud and clear.
Yeah, loud and clear.
By the way, Jamiu, I was expecting you were going to wear that traditional FKO cap.
Oh, okay.
with the horse description.
Okay, Jamiu.
Yes.
Jamiu.
Yes, I can hear you.
Jamiu, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Domo.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Domo.
Okay.
I'm speaking Japanese to you now.
Okay, Japan. Okay. Nihongo wa karemasu ka? You speak Japanese? Okay, that's interesting.
I love that.
I
want to try another language.
I had a stint in Japan, so I could speak Japanese very mildly.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good.
Let's start on an emotional note.
Yes.
This June 12th has many owners. Nigerians are first and foremost the stakeholders. But you are the family. You bought the brunt. Your father, in the process of actualizing June 12th, just like that, your mother was in the forefront. In fact, she was the heroine of democracy. Yeah. I want you to speak to the entire June 12th saga. I know that you were a teenager when the problem was, brewing. What is it to lose a father? What is it to lose a mother, who loves their country, passionately, and in the process, businesses gone, many things. I think we can hear from you.
No, it was very tragic. And we just thank God, as a Muslim and somebody that believes in God, Muslims and Christians, we all believe in God. We believe in Islam that God doesn't give you more than you can bear. It's a verse in the Quran. If something is too much for you, God will not put it on top of you. So this thing was a very, very big tragedy. My mother's death was unexpected. Then my father now died almost 2 years after, or shortly 2 years, 1 month after. So it was like a double tragedy. So it took us a long time to get over it, And we as Africans, we don't really believe in therapy. We don't believe in going to see therapists. We just believe in bottling our problems. So we had to look for a way to actually, get rid of the emotional burden, the emotional scar. In my own case, it was very difficult because I was so close to my mom. She was born in Zaria. She taught me how to speak Hausa when I was just 10 years old. So the bond was very, very close. So it took me a long time. And I was only able to actually get rid of this emotional scar when I wrote a book for both of them. The first one I wrote was called The President Who Never Ruled. This was more about the election. It was about my father, about how he grew up and everything that happened in his life before he became the president-elect. Then I now wrote the book called The Stolen Presidency, which is about my mother and our own personal life and our own struggle for democracy. So those two books helped me to become emotionally strong enough to actually withhold and to bear what happened. The books are both on Amazon. The book tells you everything that happened on June 12th. This book that General Babangida just wrote just like a couple of weeks ago is 2025. These books I wrote 2015, 10 years ago. So we have already written everything about June 12th, everything about what happened and why it happened. So anyone who wants to know about June 12th should buy those books and understand what really happened. It was a terrible thing, but I'm very glad that at least we have a democracy that is working and is giving us hope. And I'm also glad that one of the veterans of June 12th, a big fighter for June 12th, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has become a president today, which to me is good because a lot of times we see people benefiting from democracy and they were against democracy. So I'm glad that one of the people that are benefiting today are the ones that actually fought the fight. So this is also another thing that is helping us, handle this emotional loss. It's unbearable, but with all of this I've mentioned, it's becoming bearable. So that is a short summary of what happened in terms of the emotional, loss and how we're able to fight and, keep going. That's from my own family perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You must have a large heart because if I must tell you, the Abiola family, Abiola as an individual was very dear to Nigerians. At a time, people would say on June 12 we stand. And meanwhile, many politicians of these days, they have gone behind for survival. I don't know how you felt, though just like you said now, and I think you spoke on BBC also, where you mentioned that Babangida's confessions have got you a little bit of relief that he was able to at least confirm that, the election was won by MQ. But a lot of Nigerians were miffed so much that they described the show as dancing on the grave of Chief Moshood Kashimawo Abiola. And to also find out that there are many gladiators of today. The President Tinubu was there, former President Obasanjo was there, and several. And from the way former Vice President Oshimbajo painted the very, laced with humor, I don't know whether, to say maybe it's because you are now a politician or like you work in the hallowed chamber. So, so Nigerians are not happy.
Oh.
And I must tell you, former President Goodluck Jonathan, I don't know why what he said did not go viral. He also said something and said, those who messed up Nigeria, there should be something built for them.
A tall building.
Yes, exactly. How do you place both of these?
So that their children and grandchildren,
can see
what their grandparents did.
And here you are, with a large heart, looks like you're forgiving the past. What do you think? How would Abiola be in his grave now if you were to be viewing what was happening at the Nikon Hilton Hotel or so? Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
you know, a lot of people have the right to feel the way they feel. They'll be angry and all of that. But as I told you from the beginning, you know, we are following God's, words, God's doctrine. This world is temporary. You know, you can actually just wake up in the morning and you can just say, I'm going to go and buy something. And you can get killed by an armed robber because of 2,000 naira. This life is worthless in the world that is so materialistic. So the way my parents died was very tragic, but a lot of people are dying every day on tragic situations. What I know for a fact is that where they are right now is in a place that is better than anything ever. And I also know for a fact that those that cheated them, lied to them, killed them, they're going to be in a place that they will wish that they could come back to this world and even become a laborer, and they will suffer in this world so that they can even be in a better place after they die. So I know they're going to be punished. Me, I know this for a fact. So I don't really have to waste my energy hating them in this world, because me, I've already seen where they're going. I already know what's going to happen to them. So I've seen beyond. I've seen that my parents have gotten the wonderful forever and ever, they're going to be in heaven. And they've gotten this world and they've gotten the hereafter. My father was one of the wealthiest men and he lived one of the best lives. And before he died, God purified him and God now took him to the best place in the world, in the best place in heaven. And he's going to be there forever. Just for 4 years of suffering, he's now going to have 400 million, 4 billion years in paradise. That's my own. But someone like Abacha, for that 5 years he was the president, he's going to now suffer for the rest of his entire existence, forever and ever in hell. So why will I be angry? If I see anything, there's nothing for me to be angry about.
I see. Yeah, I think Jamiu is speaking like a cleric. Yeah.
But hello, Jamiu.
Yes, hello, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
For me, MKO meant a lot to me. Number one, because he used the name Kashimawo as one of his names, and I was also named Kashimawo, a traveler child. I had the courage to add Kashimawo to my list of names. Number two, both of us are from Abeokuta, and it was one of the icons that we were identifying with growing up. And number three, MKO was a Muslim, but he was the first person that I saw in my life that will fund the church, fund the music, and even fund the JJ people without looking back. Nigeria wasn't his forte. Africa wasn't. It was a global personality, and it was first among equal. Yes, Chiwawolowo had his political structure and stature, but somewhere MK also towered over and above several shoulders. And we saw a very big family, wealthy family, scattered by the errors of June 12. And I ask, what is the way forward for the Abiola family in view of all of these disclosures that we have all read, we have all heard, and we have all seen? Thank you.
Well, the way forward for the family, okay, if for the family to come together, to learn from whatever mistakes we've made in the past, and for the family to actually, because the family has to be united. Prior to the June 12th, the family wasn't fully united, but now we're going to be able to become better, and we've learned from our lessons, and we're getting better by the grace of God. We're getting more unified.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we still continue with Jamiu, right?
Let's go over to Senator Ojudu.
Okay.
I think he's one of the key stakeholders.
Okay. Good evening, Senator Babafemi Ojudu. Hello, Senator.
Unmuted.
Hello. Hello, Senator Ojudu. The engineers, where are they? Is it on now? Okay, General Williams, good evening, sir. Hello, sir.
Is it okay? General Williams is on now.
Is it back? Hello, okay. Hello, sir.
I'm not seeing Daddy's face very well, but yeah, okay.
Can you hear me?
He needs to be unmuted. Technical team, please.
Unmuted, General Williams.
I think you are on now.
Can
Good
you hear
evening,
me
sir.
now?
Oh,
Can you hear
loud
me?
and clear. Loud and clear, sir. Good
Can
evening,
you hear
sir.
me?
Yeah, we can. Loud and clear. Can you hear us, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Now I will go with you, sir. Good evening, sir. I remember way back, you were very, very popular, and they were calling you Naco General. I knew you were very fearless, and you said things as they were, without minding whose ox was God. So we were surprised that you were retired when you retire. You wouldn't have retired at that time if not for the errors of June 12. Can we have an insight into all of these things, sir?
Yes. I think I better start to correct that impression. I was not forced to retire.
Okay.
I retired myself by resigning my commission on November 23, 1993, and I left 4 days after.
Oh, sorry
a lot-
about that then.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can, sir.
A lot of effort was made to make sure that I did not leave. But I had made up my mind that I could not continue with the situation at that time. But I need to say something very, very important. And that is the role of journalists and civil society organizations, especially when the interim government was being formed. And General Abacha was made the Minister of Defense. As the next person or position of the Minister of Defense to take over from the head of state. And that was a very big surprise anyway, but we will come to that story later. But what I'm saying about journalists and civil society organization was that when the Abacha coup happened, some elements in the army interacted with journalists and civil society organizations to confuse or convince them that Abacha will take over and then hand over to Chief MK Abiola. Now, they believe that story. They believe that story. The second point I want to make also is this, is that when the coup happened, people were coming into my office at the defense headquarters, seeking appointments. I'm talking about civilians, not military officers. Seeking appointments. Immediately the coup happened. We showed that there was elements too in the society who did not want Chief MK Abiola to become president. And the third point is this, is that at some time when it was becoming obvious that June 12 was not going to be realized, other ethnic groups in the country did not support the Southwestern Yorubas. It then became an ethnic struggle of the Yoruba people. Not the Igbos, not the Hausas, not the Fulani or anybody. But people just look over that. But it's very important. In spite of the national outlook, national activities, like I've mentioned before, not only in Nigeria, but in Africa, that struggle later became a sort of Yoruba struggle. And that Yoruba struggle led to Obasanjo becoming the president. after General Baka because they believe that Yorubas have been wronged. So the military boys arranged for General Obasanjo to become the president. That was exactly what happened. But all these things we did not mention. And we tend to believe that we have this national support and national outlook for the June 12th. It's not true from our own observation. And secondly, the civil society organizations who believed that Abacha will take over and then hand over to Chief Abiola. And therefore, when it could happen, Chief Abiola was confident that Abacha was going to hand over to him. But those of us in the army knew that that was not going to happen. Unfortunately, the idea is dead. If not, it was part and parcel of the June 12th saga and the cancellation. Okay? And one of the people who convinced society and journalists that, oh no, let me take over, we are going to hand over. It would have been good if you are still alive to tell the story himself. All these things we got to realize, and I left when I discovered that the Abacha was not going to be good for this country, and they were never going to hand over to Chief Abiola. Okay, and this all happened after Babangida had left and throughout the month of June. So there are sometimes too when we need, and fortunately, Senator Ojudu is here. He will know part of this story that I'm talking about. And these are the three key areas that I think we need to know. It is our story. It's not history. It's our story. And therefore, any gaps by any book, we must fill it in with this part of the story. So I was not forced to retire at all. I was not at all. I resigned my commission. I was not forced. It was because of June 12th. When I knew that there was no way Abacha was going to hand over, and I did not support the coup at all, and therefore, I found that staying in the army was unethical, lacked integrity, and there was no way I could continue to wear that uniform.
Thank you very much, sir.
Let me just ask this and return to you, and maybe you later go to Senator Ojudu. General, sir, thank you for the insights you have given to us. But I want to ask you, sir, just from that Nikon Hilton Hotel, where the book launch and the launch of the, fundraising for the IBB Presidential Library was done. Listening to Babangida that day, I want to ask you as a military man, was there no feeling of, embarrassment? Because I say this because even those of us who are not in the military, the impression that Babangida's revelations gave is as if the military has just taken Nigerians for a ride, and they have been using Nigeria and Nigerians to play Ludo. That's Nigeria in their hands look like a toy tin, a kind of they play. Did you not feel embarrassed that such will come about almost 32, 33 years after the very act? What do you think, sir?
No, the answer is very simple. What people should understand is that even though you are military, when you take up a political appointment, you have become a politician. You have to play the politics, and therefore you are no longer military. Secondly, too, at the time, Babangida called himself president and appointed and got civilians, House of Assembly and everybody. He was already becoming a civilian president, no longer in uniform. He was practicing diarchy, which was proposed by the then President Azikiwe when Azikiwe attempted the first coup in Nigeria. I'm saying that President Azikwe attempted the first coup in Nigeria, and he was also the first president to propose a diarchy. And Babangida practiced that diarchy by having civilian governors and executive, parliamentary, and so on as a president. So he was no longer in the military. Once you do that, you are no longer in the military. If you become a governor, you are no longer in the military. Okay? And the second thing, and the second most important thing also is that people forget something. If any president tells you that he's in command, total command of a situation, that president is lying. You know why? There's a difference between a president taking a decision and the implementation of that decision and the monitoring of that decision. Again, Senator Ojudu is there. He was a special assistant at one time in his career. He'll be able to tell you more. So there's a difference between decision and implementation. And I remember Obasanjo at one time said, I did not know that civil service was so corrupt. Okay, but could we change it? Has it become better? So the whole issue of a presidential system in Africa needs to be totally relooked after, because a presidential system makes a person a semi-god, and even God has angels, and these angels are the ministers, and the ministers to a human beings. That's why it's difficult. Okay, so if practicing that, everybody kept quiet. Everybody kept quiet when we were practicing that. Nobody said anything. And there were, like I said in an interview before, there were governors who came to see Babangida in my presence who were telling him not to hand over. Civilian governors at that time who were telling him not to hand over, not to step aside. But he knew what was facing the military. He just had to step aside. So there was nothing like embarrassment. He was speaking like a politician. So it was embarrassing that. And people forget one thing too. There's a difference between a professional military officer and a career military officer. Okay? If you're a professional military officer, you will not even think about a coup. How much more taking up a political appointment? Okay? If you're a career officer, you just say that you follow the rule and things like that. And that's the difference. And in the real sense of it, take an example of General Dajima. Dajima was a professional officer, but he was involved in coup. But if you take a political appointment throughout his career, and retired as the chief of army staff, there's a difference between the career person, but he got people like Babangida and co. to become politicians in uniform. You see the difference? So these are basic fundamental issues that people tend to forget in the analysis of military and government. I hope I've answered your question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I know that
Thank you.
Dr. Ario
Thank you so much, sir.
is angling to fire on, but let me say that Baba is an octogenarian, and many of you cannot say it very well. Baba is not part of the Gen Z.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for all your contribution. And now this. General Obasanjo at that time had a towering image, globally acknowledged and respected. So the world was expecting him to say something in favor of him. But what did he say? That MQ wasn't the Messiah that we were looking for. Now, when you look at the interplay, that MQ and Obasanjo attended the same secondary school, that's the Bachibasa School in Abeokuta, and the man that was supplanted to take up the presidency in the interim arrangement, Ernest Oladen Shuneko, my namesake, was also from Abeokuta. The triangle became confusing. Moving forward, there was a meeting at the Aso Rock where Oni and some other Yoruba traditional rulers, the leading ones, were invited. And when they came out of the meeting, Oni said, from all the truth that they have told us, when they call for election, go and try your best. And that's how I posted it. All of this, when you look at them against the confession of General Babangida, and his apology. What is the place of all of these people in history? Secondly, sir, if June 12 was to have been sustained, Babangida would have been tried and jailed for coup. What lessons are the young ones to learn from all of this? Thank you, sir.
See, situation determines when the military takes over. Okay, but we are getting to a stage now where we can become like the Kenyans or the Senegalese, in which no matter what the political situation is, we let the politicians work out among themselves what the situation should be like. If you know the story of Senegal recently, before the young man became president, and the case of Kenya with their coup in the past. Okay, so we are getting to that stage now. And I hope that too, the junior officers too have been made in such a way now that they are not thinking of, a coup d'etat or something. But one thing also is that Obasanjo is a career officer too, like Babangida. Okay, and the role Obasanjo played in the June 12 something was unethical, completely unethical. Because it was part and parcel of the people who want the June 12 to be cancelled. And at one time, he wanted to become part and parcel of the people who are going to run the interim government. Okay? And I think they assured him that you don't worry. And secondly, too, there's no way. I told the PA, one late Aluko, to Shineko, tell Mr. Shineko not to take that job. It's a trap. And at the end of the day, was it not the person? Have you heard anywhere in the world where the head of state announced a coup d'etat? Have you ever heard that? Well, the person who even announced a coup d'etat. Okay, so sometimes we Nigerians think we don't. Not to talk of rumination. And ruminate means deep thinking. Few Nigerians do deep thinking, very few. So, and very few Nigerians are serious. They just get into a position, what can I get from it? And that's all. They don't care very much about what they can give to Nigeria, but they go for what Nigeria can give to them. That is the situation that has always been. And that situation we are still in. And it's getting worse and worse every day. So, the junior officers within the army, I don't think politics in there. There are enough problems within the army itself that needed to be taken care of. Most of the things the army is getting involved in today, Southeast, Boko Haram, they are political solutions. They are not military. They are political solutions. And politicians have got find solutions to this problem. They are just wasting money and wasting lives of soldiers. I've said that so many times.
Thank you very much. That means that you are going to agree with me, or you are going to denounce that, to say that the military has done more harm than good for Nigeria. Maybe in just a one-liner before we go back to Senator Ojudu.
As a Nigerian, it's always good to point fingers, but to forget that no government in any part of the world can work without the civil service. None. And like I told you before, if a decision is taken by the military and the civil service wants to sabotage it, they will. And is your civil service the type of machinery that you need can develop a country? Ask yourself that question. So it's very easy to point fingers. Secondly, too, followership is the problem of Nigeria. It's not leadership. Leaders don't drop from heaven. People who go to school don't drop from heaven. They come from within us. But what bothers me about why I was very much against the military in Nigeria was that they have not got the discipline of the people in Asia and Latin America, the countries that I visited. The military developed those, laid the foundation for the development of those countries scientifically and technologically. That we did not do. And
Okay.
yes, to a certain extent, they can be blamed. But the civil service is the engine of development of any country. If your civil service is terrible, forget it.
Thank you so much, sir. And I think it was that point that civil servants, they were called evil servants. Senator Ojudu, good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
My brother, how are you today? It's been a long time.
I'm fine. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Well, thank God we still get to speak on Facebook. My first question to you. You are a regular journalist.
Yes.
And suddenly you caught the fever of activism. Change happened to you. And you became a driver of change. And you guys came to your full bloom when you teamed together and started the news. What was the baptism of fire? What changed things around you guys that gave you the impetus to confront the military? Thank you.
Ironically and interestingly, that again began when we were, working with Babafemi Abiola in the Africa Concord. In 1990, we did a very scathing story on IBB, and 2 days after the magazine came out, the military was sent in to shut the entire place. Locked up the complex and sent us packing. I then was chairman of the Concord Chapel of NUJ. I approached Chief Ganifa and said, look, I couldn't take this. The military has no right to shut down our offices. And, I asked him to file a suit on my name. He was very cautious. He said, look, young man, they will come after you, they will persuade you, and then you will abandon this suit. I said, no. That I was going to pursue it, no matter what will be the consequences. And the following day, he was in court on my behalf. And I was summoned by the publisher, Chief Abiola, to his house. And he gave me, unlike him, he gave me a piece of his tongue. He was very angry with me and threw me out of his house, for going to court when I was not the owner of the business, and that we have caused a problem between him and his friend. I could not understand why he had to do that. So we then, of course, when he then insisted that we should apologize, after his own apology had been rejected by his friend, we left Concord and then went ahead, in late 92, early 93, to set up the news magazine. So it wasn't accidental, really. You can also see when his travel with the military began, we didn't look back to say that we had an issue with him. We then threw ourselves into it fully and fought his battle, which we saw, which actually was our own battle. Democracy meant quite a lot to us, and we didn't see it as an individual or personal thing. It was just a symbol of the fight for democracy. So personal consideration didn't come in, and we threw ourselves fully into it, and we suffer for it, and we got brutalized severally, but it doesn't matter. Whatever brutality we suffered couldn't be measured with what happened to the family, the killing of the patriarch and the matriarch of that family, which was a very sad occurrence. Yeah.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Right.
Along the way,
yes,
it became a suicide to be seen as either a writer, a reporter, or a part of the news.
Yes.
And people thought you guys were going to back down. But what did you do? You went on to start a rag sheet. We call it Tempo, if my memory is right.
Yes.
And Tempo was more fiercer, hotter, and more daring. And it was printed and distributed under the table.
Yes.
Somehow, it was always in circulation. And we were buying. And Nigerians abroad were also sending money home that people should buy those papers in bulk and send to them.
Yes.
What gave you guys the impetus? Because as at that time, the military had bared its fangs and killing had started. But you guys continue.
Well,
what was it for you?
Well, the emergence of the temple was itself an accident of history. We were publishing the news. We took quite some 3, 4, 5 days for us to get ready for the market. And again, on one of these occasions, we got a very hot interview with General Ibrahim with General Muhammad Buhari, which we titled "Why I Was Toppled." It was very explosive, and as usual with us, we were not going to do anything after the interview. So there was this night again. The Abiola offered us MQ Abiola's facility at Berek, the old Berek factory in Ishola, to do the finishing of the magazine, which we printed at Academy Press. You know, we were there in the night, collating, stitching, and packing when the military came and stormed the place. So quickly we threw off our glasses, our wristwatches, and pretended to be, casual workers who were there that night. So the military said we should load everything into the trucks they brought, and we loaded the trucks with the magazines. Actually that night we thought the end had come for the phenomenon that we were. So we gathered after the military left, and none of us could utter a word. After about an hour, we couldn't say anything. We did not know the way forward. We had invested all the resources available to us on that particular edition of the magazine, and there was nothing left. So we just then concluded, please, gentlemen, let's go home and sleep. That tomorrow morning we converge at 10 a.m. So when we came back the following day, we now looked at ourselves. Is this the way we are going to give up? We had no other job than journalism. So we said, okay, why don't we then opt for something that we could do under one day, or even lesser than one day? Anybody who is familiar with printing, we know that a tabloid could be run 100,000 copies of a tabloid under 1 or 2 hours, and that was how we then embarked on the project called Temple. And as God will have it, people received it, so well. It became a cause celebre, and everywhere, all over the country, people were looking for it. And interestingly, too, a lot of people in the military, officers, helped us with information. Many we talked to secretly, some we go to see secretly, and they told us about the happenings, within their group, and we bring all of this out. And I remember when after Babangida left, and he requested us to meet with myself about Ononuga Mbina. We went to see him, and he said one of the troubling period of his life was the phenomenon of our journalism practice. That he kept wondering who among his lieutenants were leaking those secrets to us, and were so precise and accurate. But let me also tell you this: that there was an occasion where we were not accurate. A top member of the military called us one night and said that he had just left a meeting where Colonel Abubakar Dangiwa Umar strongly opposed Abiola becoming president. We were so happy and joyous that we have gotten an exclusive. And we went and wrote that story just like that. Only for us to know later that the general who called us was actually the one who never wanted Abiola was one of the leading guys who never wanted Abiola to become president. Abubakar Umar called us angrily and almost weepingly, complaining that no, you guys got it wrong, and we had to reverse ourselves. So that was one occasion when a source actually misled us. I know the name of this source, and there's criminal thing he did by giving us the wrong information on that incident. Yeah, so the temple became very popular. People were arrested on the street for holding it. Vendors were arrested and locked up. Sometimes they used a blade to write some rubbish on their bags and all of that. It got to a point when it almost became difficult for us to circulate. But we thank members of the civil society who really were bent on putting the stories out on the street, and they helped us. Barrister Femi Falana, Bekora Somkuti, Professor Jamiu Shibaju, all of these people are selling copies of Temple in their offices and waiting to be arrested by the secret police, and a good number of other people across the country. We must also thank the drivers of those distribution vans by Daily Times, Vanguard, The Guardian. They accepted the publication. They put it under their own publication where they are moving them from Lagos to the rest of the country. So when they are stopped at the checkpoint, what they see is either Vanguard, The Guardian, or Daily Times. They will know that Binet those were, Temple. We saw quite well. We made good money, and we shook the military. And that, for me, indicates the power of a conscientious media, which I may both say is not available now, and it's very sad. We thought that after a generation fought for independence in Nigeria, for the colonialists, a generation fought to keep Nigeria one. Another generation fought to take the military out of governance. We should have a generation that should assist this democracy to achieve development in Nigeria. But that vigor, that thorough investigation, that probing kind of journalism is not there now, unfortunately. If you permit me, let me address the issue raised by our noble general, a man who himself was one of our inspirations at this period in time. Himself and Colonel Abubakar Dangiwa Umar were our inspiration during this struggle. They were courageous, they were patriotic, they were conscientious, and they were committed to democratic Nigeria. The issue of let me say, the civil society was naive. There was a kind of naivety in the civil service. I was privy to the meetings that General Dia held with the civil society. I used to visit Dr. Beko on a daily basis. I belonged to Campaign for Democracy. I was one of the people who started a civil rights CDHR, Committee for Defense of Human Rights. And by virtue of that, I was privy to meetings called, nocturnally by General Oladipo Dia, where he was able to persuade the leadership of the civil society that, look, come, we have these democratic generals in the army who want Abiola in power, who will reverse this annulment. Please let us use this opportunity. Let's allow them to come to power. Under 3 months, Abiola will be sworn in as president. Honestly, we debated this, we argued this, but again, majority naively believed that it was possible for Abacha to become head of state and willingly hand over power to Chief MKO Abiola. Well, unfortunately, again, it's by hindsight now we are saying this. It was easy to believe, particularly when General Dia was involved. We saw him as a kinsman to MKO Abiola and a patriot as well, and a Democrat, well-educated gentleman, and his words were believed. And now looking back, if the civil society had stood their ground at that time, no, we do not want any military government again. Let Choneko and his group, let them reverse that annulment decision. They will have been scared. They still will have tried to carry on with their agenda, but it will have been something else. They will have faced some kind of confrontation. But the promise, passionately and emotionally made by General Dia lulled everybody to sleep. So, when Abacha now took over, we began counting days, waiting for 3 months to come, and Abiola would be
president
sworn in as the president. That never happened. And the moment they breached that agreement, we became more ferocious in our fight against Abacha. I need to, retaliate with, further ferociousness, and got many of us arrested, locked up, and the rest is history. I, for one, was never released until he died, which was unfortunate. But again, as I said, it was a genuine feeling, genuine thoughts that made our leaders at that time, bought into the argument and the prayer and the pleadings by General Dia that we allow this so-called democratic general. And even MKO himself, had that feeling that Abacha was a democratic general. He kept saying, there are some generals in the army who are Democrats. They are bent on reversing that evil decision by Babangida and all of that. It was unfortunate that we.
Thank you so much, my brother. You have really said so much. Now, I was going to ask a question about Colonel Abubakar Umar Dangiwa, and of course, you made mention of him. But before the question, I want to remember Chuma Ubani.
Yes.
He was a frontliner.
Yes.
And the way he died still pains me till tomorrow.
Yes.
May his soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen.
Now, in an interview in 2014, Colonel Abubakar Umar Dangiwa came out to say that they planned a coup, and it was at the center of it all, and that he had written a speech for Abacha that was going to read, that they would send IBB away and install MK Abiola as president.
Yes.
This was the reason why he was apprehended. Yes. And he confessed that, yes, it is true. But they were kind enough because he happened to be one of them, so to say. And they simply say he should go. And that they promised him an oil well and to be our ambassador in the United States of America. No, unfortunately, against what you have just said now, because he came to say that he is the Fulani man and he was fighting for Yoruba man. But unfortunately, they didn't get it right. So, can we go back to that story again?
If you allow me, I think that itself is a confirmation of what I told you earlier on.
Yeah.
Like the leadership of society, I think Colonel Umar was also deceived. He was also made to believe that a coup would be necessary, and a democratic general would come in and put things in order, pacify those who are to be pacified, throw out those who are very much against MK Abiola, and then 3 months down the line, he will sworn in Abiola as Nigeria's president. He was deceived too. That was why he was in agreement initially, and the moment he began to realize that he has been deceived, he then took another turn and began to think differently, and you could see then what happened to him. They had to pounce on him and lock him up, and graciously. Hello.
Yeah, you're on.
And then graciously, allow him to leave the army. Yes,
General.
I'm hearing you. Hello.
Oh, the general interject?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir. But Senator Fem, please let's hear the general.
Now,
okay.
Let me just come in here. Before the election, there were a group of officers, and Babangida mentioned them, who did not want the election to take place.
Mm-hmm.
They did not want the election to take place. They knew that Chief Abiola was going to win, and they did not want him to become president. So they decided that no elections at all. Okay? IBB went on and held the election. But that's not to say, too, that IBB, too, was not ambitious. Because the mere fact that he had a diarchy in place, he thought that to make it easy for himself to become the president. And he was also trying to outmaneuver General Abacha, whom he had promised that to take over from him whenever he stepped aside. Okay? So he was trying to play smart too. But Abacha saw through all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Abacha worked with some of the officers in the army to make sure that that election did not take place. When the election took place, and they saw that it was a popular vote for Chief Abiola, then they had to change their tactics. Okay. And there was only for a coup, because there were a series of meetings. And the last one that I was, before I left the army in Nassau Villa, General Dia was there, General Abacha was there. I was number 3 then in the defense headquarters, because Dia was chief of defense staff. And I'm happy that Senator Ojudu confirmed the role that General Dia played. They knew now from the word go, they didn't want the election to take place. And secondly, Babangida too knew what was going to happen after the election. Because Akpangbo was made to write a decree, and I don't know why the man wrote the decree instead of resigning as a lawyer. He wrote that decree, and it's obvious. And the decree was ready before we came for the meeting in Nassau Villa. The decree was ready. It was only later Admiral Akomo and myself that were against the decree, that didn't want the decree. Okay? Or the whole idea of interim government, we did not want it at all, because it was a straightforward election, hand over to this government. And I was thinking that coming to the meeting was about the process of handing over, because I don't usually attend those meetings. All right. So the issue was that IBB himself knew, Abacha himself knew, and many other officers knew that they were going to cancel that election, and IBB was helpless. Mm-hmm. But then they made arrangement for Akpangbo to ride. See, if this country is going to progress, there are 3 important professions. You know, so Joe had mentioned that the media, they are number 1. 2, lawyers. Lawyers are prosecutors, defendants, judges, advocates, name it, lawyers. And 3, accountants. If those 3 professions are ethical, honest, on top of their morality, I'm telling you, Nigeria progress. But those 3, they are messed up. So I'm happy that Jodu, confirmed that too.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I know when you are talking to an octogenarian, you need to take it easy.
Yeah, right.
Baba is still very active for Nigeria. But we have.
Let me finish, please.
I know.
Can I provide information here? Can I provide information? Sure. And it may clear a lot of doubts about really what happened and why that election was annulled. I said earlier on that a few months after Babangida left power, he invited myself, Bayo Ononuga, and when we were going, we took one of the youngest reporters with us so that he can bear witness, to us if anything was alleged against us while we were there. So his name is Muyiwa Adikeye. He was a reporter in our organization at that time. He was a very young man then. And he said to us, and it was, I believe that was an unguarded moment, that when he registered those 2 parties and they allowed Abiola and Tofa to become candidates, some friends came to him and said he had made a mistake by allowing them to do so, that, which indicated that he was playing the game. He never wanted to hand over, and he wanted two of his friends to come in and appear as if they were, they were contesting, and that at the point when he's strong enough, he can then ask them to go and sit down. He said some friends told him that, with Tofa, you can kick his butt, and those are his words. You can kick his butt and you go and sit down somewhere. But that with Abiola, if Abiola gets on the street and find out that he's well loved, that it will be difficult to convince Abiola not to go ahead. And that for him was exactly what happened. So that for me, each time I reflect on it, indicate that Babangida himself never go.
Okay.
He kept on. Hello?
Sir, can I say something?
I know you are about to bring your submission. I know
Yes.
It's a very important point. But
Yes.
I will be asking you, now that we have brought the matter, it appears that Babangida and his courts within the military and as an institution, they have taken Nigeria on a wise good chase or a merry-go-round.
It's deeper than
billions.
that. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that.
I am going to ask you, sir.
Yes.
Now that has been, do you even believe, do you validate IBB's position on some of these revelations? Maybe I'll allow you to learn.
That's why I said you need to listen to what I learned from him at a time when he was sober and he was not trying to do a public relations job for himself, and that takes me to another statement he made. He looked at us as young men and said, look, young men, you take Nigeria too seriously. These things we do, it's a game. And I put that in my book, which is selling right now. He described the political affairs in Nigeria as a game played by those of them who are atop in the country. Therefore, he's removing Yar'Adua and his group from the presidential race. He's bringing Abiola and Tofa, and whatever he tried to do with them was a game. But it was a game that turned awry for him. He never knew Abiola would be that accepted. And if, at the moment Abiola was accepted, he still thought that on the day of election thereafter, there will be a crisis, fights here and there, violence everywhere, that will enable him, to cancel that election. But that never happened. Everything went well, quiet and peaceful, and then he ran into trouble. He ran into trouble. The other problem he had to now deal with, having run into that trouble, is the factor of Abacha, who had always wanted to become president after Babangida, because, a soothsayer had told himself that told Babangida, Abacha, and General Gusso that they would be president of Nigeria, one after the other.
Yes, was it an error on Babangida's part to have left Abacha behind when he stepped aside? By the way, did Babangida even resign?
There was no way. There was no way he could have touched Abacha at that time. Babangida had, as the General Ishola we confirm, he had a lot of hotheads around him who would have killed, if necessary, at that point.
I thought they were generous.
Again, they are in two groups. A group, loyal to Abacha, would rather die than have Abiola become president. Another group, were convinced that after 3 months, Abacha will hand over to Abiola. So those two groups came together behind Abacha, to remove Shonekon, Okay. And you could now see what happened to some of them. David Mark, tried to now do his own thing after, whatever he had seen. And then before they could pounce on him, he jumped and ran away into exile. Umar tried to correct the mistake he had made by supporting Abacha. Of course, they also picked on him. And then, he had to retire. So I also believe that Dia too may have been a victim of Abacha's lies, because, and I will tell you this story, which also is contained in my book. Later on, after Abacha reneged on the promise to give up power in 3 months, it was Dia that sent word to me for me to get out of the country or I will be dead within 24 hours. over a report I wrote on Abacha. If he had been, fully an Abacha person who believed in what Abacha was doing then, there is no way we have passed that kind of information to me to get out of the country that night, So Abacha, I do not know what he used on them, a good number of them, to convince them that it was genuine and it was actually, working in the interest of Abiola at that time. And I want to confirm to you tonight that Abiola himself believed that Abacha was coming in, to install him as president of Nigeria.
Okay, can I step in here, sir, please?
Right.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, when the issue of the June 12th election started, my father came to America. And when he came to America, he told me and my brother that he's going to run for president. This was even before the primaries. And what I told him was that I don't believe that the military is going to hand over power to him.
Yeah.
And he was so mad with me, and he started shouting. It's in my book, The President Will Never Rule. He was shouting, how can I even tell him something like that? That what do I know about Nigerian politics to be giving him that kind of advice? Then when we now got to the airport, he now said, he kept quiet and he said, well, there's no amount of power that will get those people into heaven. Because I think he must have thought about what I said and he knew I was right. You see, the thing had gotten to the point in which he knew that this game was a game that was being played, that he wasn't going to be given the election, he wasn't going to give him the mandate, even if he won. So he was going to fight, he's going to call them out. He knew what was going to happen. So this is not a question of like somebody deceiving anybody or anything like that. The game was already on from the beginning. Immediately during the primaries, they told my father to pick Bafemi as running mate, that Bafemi is going to support him. And my father knew that once he picks Bafemi, he's going to lose the support of the SDP governors and he will not be able to win the election. So immediately he didn't fall for that trap. They cut off communications with him. He couldn't reach any of those people anymore for almost 4 months. As a matter of fact, he knew they were not supporting him. He knew they were supporting his opponent. He knew everything. And as a matter of fact, the people that were giving them the information that he's going to lose the election, he knew the people that were giving them the wrong information. They were getting information he's going to lose the election. They thought he was going to lose the election. That's why they allowed the election to go on. Because as far as they were concerned, if the election goes on, then Abacha was being told something that, oh, don't worry, it's not my fault. People are forcing me to allow this man to run, but I don't want to give it to him. I want to give it to you. So you see, the game was already on from the beginning. So by the end of the game became too tight to the point that immediately the election was cancelled. Instead of my father being the businessman that they thought he was, I would go and beg them and say, okay, give me my money back and give me some profit. He turned around against them. That now gave Abacha the momentum to say, you know what? I told you before that since you were not going to give this man, you shouldn't have even gone ahead with this thing. You went ahead with it. He said, it's not my fault. I didn't want to do it, but they told me to do it. Okay, in that case, then you have to leave. So there was no such thing as like, they were going to hand over to Shoneko, they removed Shoneko. Everything was already planned. Shoneko was going to be there for a short period and go to hand over to Abacha. You see, but my father knew the game, but my father couldn't do anything because the thing was more powerful than him. There was nothing he could do. So he just kept going along with them, trying to convince them.
Okay, Jamiu.
Senator.
Yes,
Senator.
Can I
It's all in The President Will Never Rule. I wrote this 10 years ago.
I know.
I wrote all of this.
Senator.
Let me also
Senator.
Yes.
Senator.
Yes.
Before you go further,
right.
It was in Temple that you guys declared that Abacha was already being called the Khalifa, which meant the successor.
Yes.
Against that, why were people now being deceived and they believed that it was going to hand over to Abiola at that time?
Yes, a succession for 3 months is a succession, isn't it?
No.
I will appreciate if we can I say one minute because we are constrained for time now.
Yes, can I just say this?
Okay, please.
Yes, just I think 1 or 2 days after the election, after the June 12th election, myself and 2 of my colleagues picked up the intelligence that this election was going to be annulled. And we quickly, sought an appointment with Abiola. And we took this intelligence to him. And again, I've learned so much about this. No matter how young a person or inconsequential he may be, try and listen to him and take whatever he tells you and weigh it against what you have. We told him that we have this information from, an intelligence officer that Abuja is getting ready to annul that election. And he said, no, young man, you don't know anything. All these have been sealed between me and my friend. We walked out of that house that day frustrated that, this guy who gave us this piece of intelligence is not in any way frivolous. He was an Abiola's admirer who was privy to the information that these guys were going ahead to annul that election. So it was all along, from the start to the finish, a game of deceit, and all of us, Chief Abiola, the media, the civil society, a section of the army were victims of this deceit, by both IBB and General Sani Abacha.
Distinguished Senator, thank you
Yes.
very much. The way we do is that we'll get back to the floor for interactions.
Yes.
And all in all, we have about 20 minutes to do that. We are really getting to a boiling session. I want to thank you. I want to thank General. I want to thank Jamiu. But let me go to Jamiu. Then I'll come back to you, Senator.
Yes.
I will appreciate if we can get very brief responses. Jamiu, let me come over to you. I'm going to ask a straightforward question. Jamiu, who killed Abiola?
Well, if you say who killed him, it's going to be very difficult to answer that question. But I'll tell you what, he was very sick and he was not allowed to see his doctor for more than 28 days after Abacha died. So who allowed him to die was General Abdul Salam Abubakar. He purposely did not allow him. Yeah, so General Abdul Salam Abubakar, because he didn't allow him to see his doctor, which I'm not going to talk about whether it was poison or not poison, but at least they knew it was sick. Yeah, so General Abdul Salam Abubakar is the one.
Okay, because I asked that question because he drank tea. Maybe Abiola loved tea.
No, the issue of the tea, when there was an autopsy, the autopsy did not prove anything. But the truth of the matter is that after Abacha died, 28 days, they allowed Kofi Annan, Anya Oku, other people to see him, but they didn't allow his family to see him, meaning that his family only saw him a day before he died. So the people that were holding him captive are the ones that killed him. So that's what we know for a fact.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me come over to Senator.
Yes.
Very brief responses. Senator, there are lots of questions for you already, but let me ask you, Senator Ojudu.
Yes.
From all you have said, you doubted the sincerity of IBB to want to hand over power at the time they did the election. I think General also spoke in that light. Now, being a politician, you transformed from a journalist to an activist to a politician. Only God knows what is next now.
A farmer. But now a farmer.
And he also served in Buhari's government. This is what I want to ask.
Right.
The sincerity level of many of our presidents or head of states that we have had up till now, let's pick it from Babangida, because when you are saying yes and what you mean is no, it's not restricted to even the military alone now. You also served in Buhari's government.
Yes.
Do our leaders mean well for Nigerians?
Well, I've told you, I said it earlier on, and Babangida said it to me, that all of this is a game, that they are playing games. And there was an interview I read where Awolowo was asked the same question, whether he thinks politics is a game, and said, look, politics for him can never be a game. Politics is a serious matter that should be addressed seriously because the life of millions of people are involved. And that's the point of divergence from Awolowo. For them, the people do not matter in all of this. It is the elites, how they play their Ludo, and for them it's Ludo is chess.
Okay.
So that's the way they see it, and that was why there were many games within a game, between 1990 and 1993, or 1995 or whatever, let's say 1998, when eventually Abacha died. There were many games within a game, So and many got brutalized, many perished, our families destroyed because of that obnoxious game that they played. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. In 1 or 2 minutes now, we will have a 1-minute break for an interlude so that people who have questions should begin to turn it in, and we'll in a moment be asking for hands raised. I want to ask you one question, Senator, and also ask the same question to General. Were June 12th election not to have been annulled, where do you see Nigeria? Very brief response.
From me?
For you and Baba?
If I have to be very honestly, even at that time, in terms of what could be done to bring Nigeria on its feet, I wasn't optimistic. I wasn't optimistic, but I was ready, to use that process of annulment to get the military to participate in the effort to get the military out of power in Nigeria. But as to whether, if the election had not been annulled, and that will have, the process will have led to development or solving the problems of Nigeria. No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A final one, and I'll ask the same question to General. Femi Shoduke from Canada has already done something, but I know that he might speak. But one of the things he has said is that, should there not be consequence? Oh, Baba is on.
Right now, and the situation you could realize all the political maneuvers and things like that, political parties, banning some people, banning some parties, that was not a good foundation for any political development for any country. It was all, made in a confused fashion to create confusion. And there's no way anybody could have been able to build any solid progress on that. Until today, we don't have any political parties.
No.
So when you have somebody says, I'm the owner of a party, what does that mean? So until we have political parties, no way. Even if we put Angel there, it will not happen. And secondly, too, ambitions of people who are now in position and with impunity that's reigning in Nigeria, I don't see any renewed hope at all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, I have a good news here, but let me ask General, should there not be consequence for all of this that Babangida and his cohorts are taking Nigeria through? Should there not be any consequence at all?
If there are going to be consequences, then they should include those who are dead. Because take Ojudu has said about
just take this one more.
You could overthrow
General.
And later on, Major Fadipe told us that they really tried to overthrow Abacha. Okay? Are you going to bring up the dead and punish them? What are you talking about? And secondly, too, I don't know where Jamiu can confirm that. I'm sure there have been series of meetings between the government and the Abiola family, okay, in which some discussions might have taken place and some form of sorry, forget, compensation or any other thing might have taken place. So to me, what we need to do is whether we can build on the mistakes that have been made, but like I've said, not yet. I can't see any lessons we have learned at all.
Okay, thank you, General. From the eye of the military, who killed MK Abiola?
Are you asking me?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Who killed MK Abiola? After many years, we should
I
be
cannot
able.
answer better than Jamiu. I cannot answer that. And fortunately, James Alam Abaka is still very much alive. We did have discussion on that, but I'm not going to tell you what he told me. So as long as he's still alive, the best thing is for you to ask him and invite him for an interview.
Okay, thank you. I think Jamiu can speak for himself. Well,
He already answered the question.
I know. I got that. We have a good news here. The management of Wash FM has been benevolent with the timing, and they have extended the transmission by 30 minutes, meaning that we will end at 10:30 p.m. I want to crave indulgence of our other media partners, talking about Sweet FM, Roots FM, Erimbe F, Women FM, and all the participating radio to please, let's just do 30 minutes more.
Yeah.
So that, because this thing is really getting hotter.
Interesting.
And, well, let's go for a minute. And when we come back, we'll go to the floor and then we'll come back to the guest again. Can we have that?
Yes, it is new Orbit is Wash 94
Nigeria, your gateway to global opportunities. In partnership with the Global Counterterrorism Institute, we're proud to collaborate with the prestigious Paris Graduate School to bring you the and certificate programs. Vibrant culture. Here's why this opportunity is unmatched. And industry leaders in international security and advanced security studies and intelligent cybersecurity with hands-on projects. pathway to success, seamlessly transition into advanced degrees, cultural experience, learn alongside a diverse global student base, take the next step in your education and career. Visit Gallup University College for more information and to start your journey today. Exciting news from Galilee University College, Nigeria, your gateway to global opportunities. In partnership with the Global Counterterrorism Institute, we're proud to collaborate with the prestigious Paris Graduate School to bring you exclusive master's, diploma, and certificate programs. Earn a degree that paves the way to master's and PhD programs in Paris, a city known for its academic excellence and vibrant culture.
Behind it is well, let's go back to the firing line, and we can now indicate if you have some contributions, but you will have to make it brief. And then the studio number to call if you have been watching on the terrestrial. I need the number now, and it's not here. Okay. This studio number to call 090 6099 2609. I'll call it again. 090 609 92609. Meanwhile, on the Zoom platform, you can just indicate by raising up. We have a call. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening. You are live on Boiling Point Arena.
Yes.
Who do we have?
You have been the Babangida.
Oh, okay. Good one. You have the floor.
Good evening, sir. Yeah. I'm happy to be here with you all. And I'm happy that speaking about the issue of the annulment, 1993 annulment. And I'm happy also that when the election came up, I was among those that came out to vote. I left Bantuku for Babangida to come and vote for that Abiola because I believe in him then. So what struck me most was that when the election was finally over, soon before the end of the election, sugar items that we always buy to get back, for domestic usage at home, became coming down rather with lower prices. And then we thought that yes, the man that will probably do us better will be a true leader and a true leader indeed, because he said that it was so shining, fine, very cool, everywhere was cool and calm. And then everybody was waiting until when the announcement came that, look, we are annulling this election. People were so terribly hot. Everybody became so battered that, look, why should somebody somewhere just come out to say they want to annul this election?
Thank you, Kayode. Please wrap up.
Yes, that was the first time I never that somebody can destroy what we call the petroleum pipeline. And it was through this man. And then things like this, I think we shouldn't have happened. But where I'm coming is this: followers and leadership. I still think that are the one troubling us in this one, not the followers. But Baba said the followers. If leadership has been able to be trusted, show their integrity in this letter, and they don't put our trust in them, then we will have loved to continue to be in this country and not probably getting out of the country to become just or something like that. So that's my own take. Then Onuga mentioned something that
there is no Onuga here. Maybe you, there is no Onuga. That's Senator
And
Ojudu.
Ojudu mentioned on that still mentioning that name also some kind of arrest here. That somebody somewhere who knew what happened to Nigerians are still in the same system tormenting Nigeria now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's take another call. If we don't have the call, we go back to Zoom. Do we have? Okay, very quickly. Who do we have? Welcome.
Hello.
Okay, let's go to Zoom. Where are the hands raised? Okay, we have Commodore Puleola. We have a call now. I'll come over back to you. Commodore.
Where sir? Okay.
Okay, who do we have here?
You have Marquis coming from Muli.
Welcome. You have the floor.
Okay. Sir, what we are trying to say, all these things that you are seeing, do you know that every time the actions of this cause problems for the party? I was in Kano then. I know what we suffer psychologically. Many of us were killed. Just like that.
You could not have been killed if.
He met his friends and associates.
Oh, okay, good.
If that annulment is generated social, technical, and all sorts of things, I was in Kano then, 93. So 94, 95, many of, in fact, I don't want to go into that. It's very horrific. So what are you making now to rectify all those things? And when you start Nigeria, we move forward. That's just my own question.
Okay, thank you. They are noting your questions. Let's have another one. Okay. Before
Hello,
we
good
come
evening.
back to Zoom. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello.
You are on to Boiling Point Arena.
Okay, good evening.
Your name, please, and where are you calling from?
We didn't get that, please. Hello.
Okay.
Okay, we lost that.
Commodore Puleola, let's have you.
Thank you very much. This is a wonderful program, and I think I've enjoyed all the seconds. Quickly, because of time, I was in a meeting with General Ishola Williams in 1991. The venue of that meeting was Air Force Mess, Kofu Abayomi, Victoria Island. The chairman of that secret meeting was General Basha, and I was there as the staff officer to security and technical from the security group in Apapa. And the meeting was about the National Guard. So I want General Ishola Williams to throw in that aspect where the General Babangida was to come up with the National Guard, and Abacha was at that meeting to annul that progress. General Ishola Williams talked a lot, and I think I also talked at that meeting where I raised the issue of the German Schutzstaffel, that's the Red Army. And General Ishola Williams corroborated that assertion that we shouldn't do National Guard. So I just want him to throw in that as a trick that Babangida was trying to play to stay in power. The second point I want to quickly make was that we in the intelligence knew that Abacha is not going to hand over to Shonekon, because I was also in a meeting at a Apapa Security Group where the discussion was, how can we make Abacha to transmute from a military head of state and becoming a civilian head of state? We were locked up in a place, in Apapa, and they said that we have what they call immunity, that we can discuss anything at that meeting. I will have mentioned some names to make our audience to know that this meeting happened. Navy Captain UK Ahmed, who is a very close person to Major Mustafa, was at that meeting. And at that meeting, I personally told them that this is not a banana republic. and that the only way Abacha could transmute to a civilian president is if we go to war in Bakassi with Cameroon, because if you're at war, then nobody's going to ask for elections. And I think I was taken up on that. Eventually, they said that I'm going to be retired, and my name was among the people to be retired with General Abdul Salami before Abacha died. But I just want General Ishola Williams to enlighten us about the trick of the National Guard, which was supposed to be more superior to the Nigerian army, and how Abacha thwarted the effort. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll have one more question for this round. Help us unmute Femi Shodunke. Okay. Femi Shodunke from Canada. Then we'll go back to our guest. Then we'll come back to the questions. Femi Shodunke. Baroin, Femi Shodunke.
Hello, Femi. Hello, Femi.
Hello. Okay, while we wait for him to unmute.
Oh. Okay, Femi.
Oh, yes. Can I go ahead now?
Yes, go ahead, Femi.
Okay. Now, I'm just concerned about the level of impunity of our military men, to the extent that we are not even quite sure. Maybe they are coming back tomorrow or day after tomorrow or one of these days to take over power. And I think it's time for us to take a stand. And that's why I want to talk about, is it not possible for the civil society organizations with the convention by IBB that all these men that are involved, we should write letter to our International Court of Justice to be tried for genocide, particularly when you take into consideration the number of people that died, during those periods. Those people, we can't just allow those lives to just go like that. Can't there be a way to punish them and also to make that punishment serve as a deterrent? And don't let us forget, this one, let's talk about our female gender. I don't know, maybe Senator Ojudu might talk about the treatment of Senator Natasha, somebody who has been there before. Is that treatment proper? And can you say something about that as a kind of discouragement to women food? Thank you very much.
Okay.
And thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Baroin Femi Shodunke. I can see your hand, additional McGregor, but please be patient because of the level of prehension. So let's go back to General to respond. Then we'll come to Senator Ojudu and maybe Jamiu. Then we come back. We'll still open the phone line later. Thank you. General. General Williams. You had the questions. Can you unmute, Baba? No, Liberty Voice. Unmute, Baba. No, we can't hear him yet. Technical, please unmute, Baba. Can you unmute, Baba? Liberty Voice. Oh yeah, Baba should just accept unmuting. Help us click unmute. Click unmute there. There's a button there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Very loud. Yes,
sir.
You can hear me now?
Yes, sir. Well. But please go ahead.
Okay. Very quickly, because there's no time. About National Guard, it was a funny one, and you could not blame General Babangida. Why? When you're a military head of state, you will constantly look at your back, whether a group of people are there to overthrow you violently or, not violently. And therefore, you need to create an organization or institution that you can rely on to protect you in case the army cannot do that. So he wanted to create the National Guard. But at the end of the day, he tried, everybody disagreed, so that motion was shelved. People are still talking about National Guard or something, even though mobile police is there to do the work of what the National Guard could do. But that, in short, was the issue. But the point I'm making also is this, is that right from the word go, Abacha and many other people, including General Dia, did not want the election to take place. And after the coup, for 3 days, there were no announcement because General Abacha himself was not too sure about how Nigerians could take that to coup after an election. And secondly, too, many of those who did the coup believed that Abacha was not competent enough, and therefore they could get rid of him in 3 months, but not to hand over two, because they too had their various ambitions. That's my own reaction.
Okay, thank you very much. Quickly, Senator. Distinguished Senator, please unmute Babafemi Ojudu. Is making frantic. Are you clicking the accept?
Yes.
Technical. Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You are on.
Yes.
They asked a question from Canada talking about the need for, you had that one.
About the suspension? Natasha and
that's one, but he also asks that, is it not time that civil society groups take the case to the International Court of Justice to try a lot of these people for genocide? Thousands of people died.
Whatever it is that will be done, that we give justice to people who lost their life, is acceptable by me. But practically, I think what we need to do in the immediate is to get a good lawyer, to file a class action on behalf of all of us who are victims of, the annulment, the Abiola family, journalists, protesters on the street, people like Femi Falana who are arrested and locked up, Ganifa, Emibe, Koranzom, and everybody. Let's file a class action against Babangida, who had come to admit that an election was free and fair, but because of his own politics, he had to annul it. And then when we protested against the annulment, he had to use a brute force, to brutalize us and all of that. So if we file a class action, a lot of things will come out of there. We know who did what, and then we can then proceed from that. And that for me is a practical way to start. And I think when the other time I heard Falana saying that he was going to court, I don't think he should go as an individual. Let it be that he's filing an action on behalf of all of us who are victims of that annulment. That will give us a leeway to come up with names of people responsible for that dastardly act. Those who gave the command for mowing down innocent Nigerians, those who were in charge of Abiola in prison and allow him to be, to die the way he died, and everybody. So I think that for me is a way to start. It's a way to begin. Let's have a class action filed in the court in Nigeria, and then we all go there and give and testify, and with others who should know, should someone to come and give us, and we can then begin to compile a list of victims, and then be able to know those who are responsible, for making those people victims. The other one of that, yes, do I go on the Natasha matter?
Please go.
On the Natasha matter, I think we are just an unserious bunch in this country. Honestly, we are very highly unserious. I was in the Senate, and as I said in another forum, my 4 years in the Senate has been the worst years of my life. Because it was not set up to solve problems. It's just there for people to seek a personal interest, and whatever it is you can do to benefit from what they are sharing there, you want to do it, and that's what you see when all of them rose up to condemn the young lady. I knew prior to now that she was going to run into trouble by virtue of what she has done in our community. She was exposing them for not doing much in their own communities, and they never like that kind of thing. When you are campaigning within the chambers or outside, that allowances are too much, or that people should be given what they deserve in the arrangement of things in Nigeria and all of that. Most senators and House of Press members are never happy with that kind of attitude, and sooner than later, forget about even sexual harassment. Sooner than later, they will set you up and then try to deal with you. You know what happened to the senator from Borno State, when he was, very critical about the situation.
Ningi.
Yeah. It's not.
Ningi.
Yeah.
Undume?
There was Udume. Yes, there was Udume.
Udume.
He was very loud about the economic situation of Nigerians and how people are suffering. Quickly they find a way, to keep him short. And since
that means you are not proud of the bunch of senators we have.
No, I was not proud of myself and my group of senators when I was there. So how could I be proud of these ones that haven't gone worse than when I was there? So it's we have to do. General Williams said something about you cannot have a democracy without a strong party. It's not possible. There are no parties at all in this country today. Wow. There is no party, there is no opposition, no parties. It's just whoever is there holding the level of power and is able to distribute largesse is what is the person that everybody kowtows to. Because that lady, has been hardworking over all her life. She's a very comfortable person, a wealthy person who has a second address other than politics. She can stand up and confront these guys, and they do not feel comfortable with that. Who are you? When there are generals there are governors there, labor leaders there who are scrambling for one thing or the other, and you want to stand up to the authority, It's just a place. It's a place where people share largesse, that's all. It's not purposeful. It's not directed at solving any problem. I'm sorry to say this, but I know that place so well, and I almost suffered depression when I was there, and I could see what they were doing. I mean, there was a time when I was there, and there was there was a bill to approve a loan of $1 billion to fight insurgency, and we got information that part of the money that had not come in had been shared by the party in the majority, and we're angry. We got to the plenary. I raised my hand, raised my leg to condemn all of these things. All my other colleagues did. Nobody. They just went ahead and railroaded us into approving that loan, which they have shared the night before. And 2 or 3 days after, we went to Sokoto, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives was being made a chief. And I sat on the table with one of the principal officers, and I pointed my finger at him. I said, look, you people shared blood money, and that you are going to pay for it. One of them is paying for it now. I wouldn't want to mention them. But
my brother.
That is the situation in that place. Honestly, there is a need for a rupture in Nigeria. Somebody must come in like an Ataturk that will set all of us aright. If we continue the way we are doing now, 200 years will still be the same way. No change can come with the right. Look, General said something, and I agree with him. If you bring the best of human being to manage Nigeria the way it is today, without a strong party or strong parties, without a rejiggling of the system, that person will fail. It's so easy. The civil service is rotten. The politicians are rotten. Even the military now is even rotten. You need to also know what is happening within that system itself. So who is going to bail us out? Well, those who are religious will point to God. Maybe God will do something one day and get us out. The mess is messy. Very, very.
My brother, let me say this to you. So you are telling me that you are not a distinguished senator, and that you are made to have wasted 4 years of your precious life.
I'm telling you, I'm affirming that. I'm affirming that. In fact, I regretted going to that place. I'm telling you.
Okay. There is a message I've sent to you on your messenger.
Yes.
You get to read that later.
Okay, thank you. Let's bring up Jamiu. Jamiu must have a response to all of this. Jamiu, and somebody...
Can they unmute him if he was muted?
Please unmute
Jamiu.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. Yes, I'm actually more optimistic than all of this because, at the end of the day, it's what you hope, what you believe that you get. Of course, some people can say I'm naive, but I believe that if we are a little optimistic, we might actually get to the light at the end of the tunnel. We cannot afford to always look at the cup as half empty instead of looking at it as half full. I know that a lot of things are wrong in this country, but I also know that a lot of things are going to be right. Because if we look at Nigeria and what is happening in Nigeria, in comparison to what has happened in a lot of countries, we have to accept the fact that Nigeria is a country that is actually getting things right. I mean, of course, it could be better. I know things could be better, but definitely we're going to get to the promised land. The issue of democracy, there's no way we can actually have a strong democracy without getting to the local government. That's one thing that I was hoping that people that spoke before me spoke about. The issue of local government is the most important thing to build a strong democracy. And we have to give credit to this administration because the administration is not trying to push the governors to actually recognize or to do the right thing. They went through court. The president told the Attorney General to get an interpretation from the Supreme Court on how to handle the issue of the local government. And Supreme Court actually ruled that the local government have to have the autonomy and they have to have financial autonomy because they are the closest, a tier of government that is closest to the people. So this administration is trying its best to actually work a way in which the local governments get their entitlement. If that had happened from the beginning of the democratic, dispensation since 1999, initially we were having local government elections and all of a sudden that stopped. I think, we will not be saying all the things we are saying now. I think most of the biggest problems we're having with insecurity, with corruption, is because we don't have a strong grassroots. And the strong grassroots that we don't have is as a result of the fact that we don't have a strong local government. So I think we should give this government time to actually get that right. Because if we get that right, then we will know that there's hope. Then the issue of the tax reform, is also very important because if you look at it,
you are bringing a diversion to
no, it's not like a diversion. No, because we talk about democracy. But sir, some people said that if you bring an angel,
I will allow you to learn.
Yes, sir.
You will
if you bring an angel,
I will allow you to learn.
You will not work in Nigeria. But I'm telling you what the problem is. Yes, go ahead, sir.
No problem. But somebody has a question for you, by the way.
Okay.
If Abiola's families,
yes.
Oh, Baba is okay.
If Abiola's
family knows those who kill them kill and are willing to speak 20 years after, why should we worry ourselves? If they're willing to speak, did Abiola die in vain?
No, you asked me who killed, and I mentioned General Abdulsalam Abubakar. I spoke. What else am I going to do? Am I going to get a trumpet and start blowing into it? I said it. General Abdulsalam Abubakar was the one that did not release him 28 days after Abacha had died. I actually spoke. I said it. So that is in terms of you see, my father died, and as I said as well, as a Muslim, he's going to heaven. You see, so that gives me a lot of consolation.
Yes.
I'm not
you said as much.
Yes, because you see, everybody's going to die. You can even enter a car today. Look at the people that just died 2 days ago in Bauchi when the tanker exploded. This is unfair. People are dying every day for one reason or the other. The most important thing is not how you are born, it's how you die and how righteous you are and where you're going to end up for the rest of your eternity. But in terms of the democracy, is why I was saying all the things I was saying. We don't need angels to come and change Nigeria. By the time we get everything done the right way, the way the framers of the Constitution wanted. Get the equal distribution of wealth with the local government and all of that. Everything is going to auto-correct. Nigerians are the smartest people on earth. Nigerians are the most vibrant, dynamic. That's why if you go to America, the doctors, the professors, they're all
Thank you
Nigerians.
so much. Please wrap up,
Yes,
please.
that's interesting.
Okay,
Interesting.
that's what you want to say. Thank
That's
you
what I
very
want to
much.
say. Yes,
Jamiu, you have become a Nigerian politician.
no, I'm not I'm not a politician.
But
Please,
this is wonderful. I appreciate your drift and your candor with which you spoke. You see, everybody has perspectives and it has to be respected. Let's quickly go back to the phone lines. You are still interested in calling, please call. And you want to still raise up your hand. Okay, I'll come back to, do we have a call now? 090-6099-2609. Let's take the call.
Hello, good
evening, welcome, Boiling Point Arena.
Yeah, my name is Jamiu from Ojudu.
Okay, very quickly.
Okay, I just contribute to what Jamiu just said.
Go on.
Is the right way. If we follow this way, this country is going to be better for us. So I suggest what Jamiu said. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We have another call. If it's not yet on, let's go back to Adeshino McGregor. Kindly help me unmute. His hands have been raised for. Okay, pick this call and we'll come back to him. Hello. Hello. Okay. Please unmute Adeshino McGregor. Let's do it very fast. We have just about 5-10 minutes. Meanwhile, it's boiling here. Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
You are on to Boiling Point Arena. Who do we have?
Yes, I'm calling from Mowe.
Okay.
Mowe.
Please quickly.
Look into the issue of stopping people because of the decisions of those. The market movement. I personally, I suffered this. I will suffer this. So it's good that something is on. So as to get a bigger and greater Nigeria tomorrow, that's just where we stand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Have you been able to unmute Adeshino McGregor? Okay. If we have another call, we'll pick them back to for their final thoughts on the matter. I am appreciating Senator Babafemi Ojudu. He's a newsman, so I'm already, I love the drift. I love General, and I also appreciate Jamiu. Oh, tomorrow's paper will be like something else. Yeah. I think there is a problem with the line. You cannot get additional McGregor. We are finally coasting home. Yes, let's pick the call.
Hello.
Hello. You are on to Boiling Point Arena. Who do we have?
Okay, good evening. This is Santos Otega.
Okay.
Quickly comment what General Williams said. Okay. The fight for the freedom to regain Abiola done by the Yoruba alone. The beginning of the fight by started from Niger Delta region. This should be noted. A very time came when we needed the presidential candidate Abiola to have come into this country. He went to America and his family and stayed there. Then went there for 3 died in Obanikoro. Nobody is talking about that. You see, this country will not thrive tribalism or regionalism. We must get something straight. People must be united. For that cause, Nigeria is united and we give it a fight. Even those Nigerians in Lagos, we are all Nigerians in Lagos. We have everybody in Lagos, the outside. We are all part of this struggle. So when you go to claim it as a regional fight, it wasn't so. And again, I also said the strong of Abiola, it also play politics. You can't commend this politicians who also are gaining from the father's a good way to say, yes, you are doing well. Who is doing well in this country when Nigeria are fine? Or you are in this country to feed the weak.
Thank you very much.
These are people who say the fought against the fight of the democracy, and yet you don't know what democracy means. It's very appalling. Please, you want to get negotiators of people. Get those who feel the pain, the touch of the people. We are connected to the people, not disconnected. Sorry, thank you. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much. Do we still have additional McGregor? Or we return back to the, I will be asking General now, is there really karma? Does karma exist? Is there retribution for some evil acts, particularly that which is done against the nation? I think for me, it's a privilege to be a leader, to have an opportunity to sit on an exalted seat, and at the end of the day, what we have is oppression. What is your take, sir? I hope we still have General there. Please unmute General. Okay, let's quickly take this call and come back to General. Hello. We lost the call. Is General on? Okay, sir.
There used to be a saying, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
There used to be a saying that the evil that men do lives after them, the goods are often interred in their bones. Nowadays, both the evils and the good are exposed. None is interred in their bones, really. Secondly, too, when somebody is alive and writes an autobiography or a biography, you do not expect that person to tell the whole truth. There must be some few things that person should carry to his grave or to her grave. It's always better to write biographies when people are dead, and if you have enough information to be able to tell the true story for our historical purposes. That is it. But about karma, like Jamiu said, if you're a Muslim or a Christian or something like that, and you believe there's heaven or there's heaven, there's hell, and some people go to hell, and some people go to heaven, then you talk about karma. But to me, karma is on this earth, both the heaven and the hell. If you have been the head of state before, exalted, like you say, and respected and beloved and so on, and certainly people lose respect for you, but like Babangida himself said, how come that everybody that wants to contest election, they come to me now? Why? How come? And two, one other important thing is that everybody says that Babangida is corrupt. Nobody has been able to bring out evidence like the case of Abacha, Babangida. What are the investigative journalists? To be able to trace any asset, property, or anywhere in the world, or bank accounts in Nigeria. And it looks as if Goodluck Jonathan too has followed that system, or followed the example of Babangida. Okay, so, and when people talk, and they're talking about karma and so on, and I did say earlier on, are you sure that there have not been meetings between Babangida and members of the Abiola family in one way or the other? And they have had some discussions in one way or the other. So all this karma issue, to me, is nothing. Until somebody goes to heaven or hell, I make a telephone call back to earth. That's the time I believe in all this karma or no karma. Everything that you do, evil or bad, is exposed.
Baba, thank you so much, sir. I have always been an advocate and a convinced one for that matter, that number one, we have no political parties in Nigeria, that what we have are NGOs and social clubs with the sole aim of catching votes. And when they get powers, because they were not structured as parties with manifestos and solid intentions, they also don't know what to do with it. Correct. That's why since 1999 till date, what we have had are cases of humongous thefts of public wealth by elected people, governors, ministers, senators, name them. I have also said that we should have inheritable jail term or sentencing. That is, if you as a governor, you stole money and you are found guilty, in case you die, the person dies while serving the term, his children should be able to carry the can and continue to serve the jail term. Perhaps if we introduce this, the children will begin to warn their parents, don't put me into jail, don't go and steal money. Perhaps
Impunity.
that can be, sir.
Impunity reigns in Nigeria. Impunity.
So, sir, what's your position, sir, on the possibility of inheritable jail term? And lastly, sir, how do you see plea bargaining as a spanner in the works for our justice system in Nigeria? Thank you, sir.
We appreciate a very brief response, Daddy. Thank you.
No, the best way to act. The British judges who sentenced Ibori to jail in London about our judges in Nigeria. So, and then look at June 12 too, with Justice Bassi, who once worked in Nakwango's chamber, and then, and all the June 12 election. So you can see that there's something wrong with our judicial system, and it's still wrong. And of course, the chief justice who make somebody a governor, number 4, and left the first 3, and so on, and the Chief Justice of Nigeria, then you will know that I've told you, media, legal profession, accounting profession, those are the 3 people that can save Nigeria. And then, like I said, strong political parties. Jamiu was talking about local government. How do local governments come into being? It's not having political parties and election. And you don't have political parties and you want the local government to work. And remember that you have federalism. So if you take power out of the state government in that federal system, what is important is for the state government to have a constitution and local government to have a charter. But all these things, we don't discuss those issues in Nigeria. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much. Let's take the parting shot from Senator Ojudu. Mind you, the KBC is going to, do a wrap up, and we can go.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I have also thoroughly enjoyed myself being on this panel. I just want to say that we love Nigeria. We want Nigeria to work, but you just cannot just wish it. It's I was taken aback by the extravagant optimism of our brother Jamiu. If you truly live in our society, you will know that things have gone so bad that we cannot just wish that it works. Look at the educational system. The university system has almost collapsed. You look at the security system. What do you think is right today about our security system? If you look at the judiciary, lawyers don't go to court again to argue and read books to convince judges. You need to go there with your bag of money. Look at the electoral system. I tell my friends who want to go and contest now, don't waste your time. The result is already out before the election. And they will tell you, go to court. Which court are you going to go to? You can never get justice. The political parties. Hello?
Okay, go ahead. Is your network? Yeah. Okay, please wrap up.
Yes, you look at the political parties, they are not just there. You look at the military, every captain, major, colonel, they are looking for money to send their wives and children to Canada. And they are ready to look for the money in whichever way it can come. So where then lies the hope that we all are looking for? We have to think about this and begin to look seriously at how do we, reject this system. The civil service, oh no. I for 8 years or even 12 years, I had dealings with civil servants. Those ones do not even believe in Nigeria. They believe in what they can get out of Nigeria. And in whichever way they can get it, they don't care. Fighting corruption, who is fighting corruption now? So, honestly, if you have been inside and you are very sincere with yourself and you open your eyes into what goes on inside, then you hardly can become optimistic the way Jamiu was lavish with it. Yeah, which is optimism. Thank you.
Okay, Senator.
Thank you. Please, because of our time,
just a short one.
I understand. No. We can't take any other question again. I understand Alhaji Kola Abiola is also participating here, and we have the honor to at least acknowledge his presence. Kola Abiola, Alhaji Kola Abiola, we want to greet you and salute you. If you are there, please unmute the button and at least say hello to Nigerians who love your father so deeply. And after that, we will call on the KBC to do a wrap up. Do we have Kola Abiola ready there? I want to say this is one awesome, robust edition, and we're appreciating everybody. While we wait for Kola Abiola, let me call on KBC. Is it on now?
Hello, Kola.
Okay. Okay, let's invite KBC to, you started the session. Okay.
Thank you very much to everyone who has made this a very exciting edition again. Today, the March 2025 edition of Boiling Point, it really has been a boiling session today as well. If we were to transcribe all that transpired today, I think it would have been enough to fill another book in the chapter of Nigeria. Let me start by thanking Jamiu, for his large heart, the way he came across. I mean, being philosophical about the whole thing around Alhaji M.K. Abiola and the matriarch of the family as well, who were victims of the whole episode, and also the fact that he has, so much hope, that Nigeria can still get it right. And I'm with him on that, really, because if we lose hope, where would we be? But I'll just pack up and just switch off the light. So thank you very much for that. I really hope that the rest of the family also have that same position as you have. At least it's part of the healing process. Senator Babafemi Ojudu, thank you very much for helping us summarize the whole system. You said in your summary that the main protagonist said it's a game. Nigeria is a game, and there are a few of them who are just playing the game, and of course, you caught up with them at some point. As a matter of fact, you could see that it's still the same thing we have in the country as we speak. I mean, look at the entire system, the economy, it's the power, it's security. And that even permeates to the civil service as well. Even those in the civil service see Nigeria as a game as well. And they just play the game, to the extent that they can get whatever they can from it as well. Unfortunately so. Now, it's even much worse than when the pre or immediate post-June 12 period when there were just few players. Now we have a lot more players, which makes it even more murkier and much more difficult. It's a case of too many cooks now, which is now swelling the broth, which makes it even more difficult. And it's, and like General Williams said, they do it with impunity now, without any regard whatsoever, playing with the lives of over 200 million Nigerians, which makes it very, very sad and unfortunate. Thank you very much for helping us with that perspective, Senator Babafemi Ojudu. It really was a very good, summary you gave us. And to General Williams, thank you very much for helping us to understand what happened then in the corridors of power. I think, the fact that we still have a few people in the system, no matter how bad it is, who have integrity and who still have the love of the country and the people at heart, and who rather than just, join the bandwagon and join them when they can't beat them, who rather just honorably resign and just withdraw from the system rather than being part of the gamers as well. Thank you very much for your perspective on that as well. I would also thank everybody who has been part of this edition today. Without you, there will be no boiling points. I want to welcome your suggestion, your feedback, your perception of how things are in terms of contents, the structure, the quality of what we think we can do better to really make it a much more robust, session that can benefit all of us. But thank you very much for being part of us. Every time, I really enjoyed the session today. Again, to the interviewers, Thank you very much for helping us out. We could just go on and on and on. There are still a lot of things to talk about. But again, let me round off at this point and say, see you same time next month, second Sunday of the month. Until then, remain blessed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Kabiyesi has said it all. And he has done it even the way the presenter will do it. See you next month at this time, second Sunday, 8 p.m. God keeping us alive. From me, Ayo Arowojolu.
And from me, Dr. Oladeyinde Ariyo. Senator Ojudu, please check your email, your messenger. Good night, everybody. God bless Nigeria. God bless Nigerians.
Thank you.
And only authentic health radio in Nigeria.
Wash 94.9 FM.
Your city's new heartbeat is Wash 94.9.